it says, okay, well, I think that our Google Hangout on air is now live. I see on my screen that we're live, and so welcome. I think we're going to wait maybe another 30 seconds or so until we're 7 o'clock straight up on the dot before we officially begin, but we are officially broadcasting so that you know what we're doing and what's going on. And so I think I'm just doing a quick double check of the YouTube channel here to make sure that we're live. And okay, I see myself, so I think we're good. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is now 7 o'clock. My name is Ron Ippolito. I'm a social studies teacher at Sierra Vista Junior High School. Joining me this evening, we are pleased and privileged to have the William S. Hart Union High School District Director of Technology Services. Did I get your title correct, John Carino?
You got it.
Good. So we have our Director of Technology Services, John Carino from the Hart District, here to join us, and we're talking about Google Calendar. So kind of backing up a little bit, we started out as a Google Apps for Education district last year, right, John?
Yes, sir. Yeah, for students last year.
Okay, and so they got their Google Mail accounts last year, and we started to enjoy some of the benefits of Google Apps for Education with Google Drive and some other Google products last year, but we're now going in full force, and now we have Google Mail, which we did a webinar last month, and now accompanying that is Google Calendar. Now, John and I were talking a little bit earlier this evening about how he and I have both been personally using Google Calendar for a while now. I was joking with John, and I've joked with my wife before, that Google Calendar is one of the best things to ever happen to our marriage. Is that right, John?
Oh yeah, definitely. It saved my butt a few times, and having calendars for both my boys and all their events, and calendar for our scouts, and sharing that with all of our scout parents, and having a calendar for birthdays so I don't forget people's birthdays, like my wife's. Anniversary reminders, all that kind of stuff. So definitely saved my butt a few times.
So, I was sharing with John, we were talking about why and the purpose of this webinar this evening, and we know that we're not going to get to everything. We know that it's absolutely impossible to talk about everything related to Google Calendar. However, I did want to share this quote here that I love. Whenever I do a technology workshop, I think of this in the back of my mind. If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people together to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. And I know that Google has so much to offer, and I'm so glad that we switched over to Google Apps for Education, and there's no way in an hour's time we're going to be able to talk about every single feature possible with Google Calendar, but we're going to try to do the best we can to at least hit the most important features. But the most important thing is I want to get you fired up. I want to get you excited. I love using Google Calendar. I have now for the past 3 or 4 years that I've been using it, and I love it. And so I hope that by the end you will see why I love it so much, why John loves it so much, and hopefully you'll get a lot out of this evening. I want to mention, before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of our presentation, I do want to mention the back channel. The back channel is on Today's Meet. The website is todaysmeet.com/gcalhart, and I do want to bring this up here. So if you take a look at todaysmeet.com/gcalhart, it's the link that's also available on that page that was sent out to you via email. And please feel free to check this out. Please, by all means, join us here on the back channel. The purpose of this is for you to ask questions. You can interact, maybe even answer questions. If you have Google Calendar knowledge and you'd like to share that, then by all means ask your questions, participate in the discussion, and then throughout our hour this evening, we will be taking questions and answering questions, and then whatever we don't get to answer, we will make sure that we put in our show notes that will appear on that exact same landing page at the end of the evening. All right, so John, I think we're ready to jump in and start. Are we?
I'm ready, and I just want to give a shout out for you, Ron, for all that you've done in the previous Google Hangout you did for Mail, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on that, and people who I would not expect to, who have gone on and watched live with you and learned some things, and they were super excited. So I want to thank you again for doing this for the district and the world in general, whoever wants to watch, but specifically for our district and spreading the greatness of Google Calendar. So thank you.
All right. Well, you flatter me, John. Thank you. All right. So here we are. This is the Google Calendar page. This is the Google Calendar landing page, and I intentionally started with a blank slate so that you can kind of see this is where we all started at one time or another. Is on this very blank slate here, and so we start off, and I want to show you. First of all, there are layers. And I'll start off by showing you. Well, we'll start small. This is my sub-job layer. So I've created this one, and you can add as many layers as you'd like. It's like an onion. You can keep adding layers and layers and layers. This is my sub-job. So whenever I know I'm going to be out, I'm at a conference or workshop or whatever the case may be, I have my sub-jobs layer. And then now let's add the. Oh no, that's my personal. That was my personal Gmail one that I've disconnected. Here's my Heart District one. This is my personal Heart District calendar right here, and so you notice that this is in blue, and so this is my. These are all of my things. You'll notice that today is the 10th, and it's gray on the 10th here. You'll notice that everything prior to the 10th is kind of in a lighter shade of blue. That's one of the settings that you can include, and we'll talk about that. And then everything from today going forward is in a darker, bolder blue. Now, I mentioned earlier how Google Calendar was one of the best things to happen to my marriage, and the part of the reason for that is, back before Google Calendar, I would have things. I would have commitments at school and things that would happen and things that would come up. And sometimes I would tell my wife, hey, honey, I'm going to be home later because I've got this meeting or this activity. And sometimes I would forget to tell her. But now with Google Calendar, I share my calendar with my wife, Heather, and my wife shares her calendar with me. And so now we know what each one of us is doing. So here's my wife's calendar. You notice my calendar just got a lot more complicated now that I added my wife's calendar on there. I joke with her. She's the PTA president at Leona Cox Elementary School. I joke with her that she works harder than I do, and she's a volunteer, and boy, she works hard for her school. So you can see all of those events. She also includes volunteering in the classroom, and she also includes things that she does with our daughter, places that she takes her. As my daughter gets older, she's 7 years old now. John was talking about his family and his kids. I'm pretty sure we're going to be adding a calendar for her, so families can use this as a way to communicate with each other, so that there aren't those misunderstandings, and there isn't that evening when you come home, late in the afternoon or early in the evening or late in the evening, and hey, where were you? What happened? What was going on? Oh, whoops! I forgot to tell you that I had X, Y, or Z. So with this, you can see exactly this is what's going on, so you know exactly what's happening. Here's the other nice thing that I love, and this is these are other calendars. So with other calendars, these are calendars that are shared with you that you don't have access to change or edit. You only have access to view. The reason why my wife's calendar appears up here is because we have a very loving and trusting marriage, and so we give each other edit rights to each other's calendars. Down here, these are the calendars that I can view, but that I cannot change. So another thing that I add on as a layer is I add the Sierra Vista Community Calendar. So what this does is this is the calendar that we share with parents and students that goes on the website, and so this gives me an extra layer so that I can see what events are coming up. I can see the progress reporting period. I can see when team and makeup photos are going to be. I know that yearbook photo day is going to be on the 22nd, and so if your school as a school is not yet using Google Calendar to communicate with teachers and staff, with parents and students, I urge you to be an advocate for Google Calendar going school-wide, because one of the things that parents ask most often, their question that they ask is, what's going on? When they call the school and they talk to the receptionist, when is back to school night? All of those questions, if you're wondering how to build a Google Calendar for your school, start by asking your receptionist, what questions are asked the most? I was talking to John earlier about Valencia High School. I've taught at West Ranch. I've taught at Canyon. Valencia High School has always been a rival for me, and so I always give Valencia High School a little bit of a zinger whenever I get a chance to. But tonight I have to give Valencia High School a shout out, because Valencia High School, they right here on their homepage, you scroll down to the bottom, and they have, for years, they have been doing an outstanding job of communicating events. You see back to school night right there, you see minimum days, and it's right there on the homepage. There was a technology expert I was listening to over the summer, and they said, you know what, if you can't get to information on your school website, if you can't get there in 2 clicks or less, then it's too buried. You've hidden it. You've made it too difficult for parents to access and for students to access. And Valencia High School, I got to give them a shout out and got to give them props, because it's right there on the homepage. Sierra Vista also doing pretty well too. Sierra Vista is just 1 click away. So there it is right there, and you can see our Google Calendar communicating with students and with parents what's going on. All right, so now let's go back here. Want to talk to you about, first of all, how do we add an event? So let me remove some of these, peel some of these layers back. How do we add an event? There are a couple of ways to do it in Google Calendar. The first way is simply by clicking on a date. So let's say, John, let's say we have we're going to have dinner tomorrow, or we're going to have dinner next week. All right, so one thing I can do is I can say dinner with John Carino, and I can say 7 p.m. And if I hit enter, that is automatically going to pop up right there. Now there's a default setting. I have my default setting set for half-hour events. You can have that. You can change that, and I'll show you how to change that in settings, those default time settings. But there is a way that you can change that. I just have it set as a half hour as my default. Now let's say I want to, let's say that my wife asks to add an event. Let's say that, you know, we're sitting together in the living room, we're watching a little TV, and she says, oh, hey, I have a meeting with the Leona Cox principal next Wednesday. Can you please make sure to add that? Could you add that for me, 9 a.m. Next Wednesday morning? And I would say, of course, honey, I would love to. So I'll go ahead and click, and I will say 9 a.m. meeting with Mrs. Fisher. And I can switch calendars. These are all the calendars that I have either created or I have access to, so I can switch it and create it on my wife's calendar. Now, you're going to notice something happen as soon as I hit Create Event. You're going to notice a lot of pink pop up. Boom. And that's because I just created it in her calendar, so now that lets me know, hey, are you sure you wanted to add it to this calendar? It's verifying with me, and that's why it popped up with all that pink. So if I didn't want to add it to that calendar, I can always go, I can click on that event, I can edit the event, and then I can always change that calendar. And I can say, oh, whoops, you know what, I want to go ahead and add that to my calendar, and I can click Save. And now you'll see, let me go ahead and turn my wife's calendar off, you can see that the event is now listed in blue. Now, since we're on this topic of pink and blue, why did you choose pink and blue? Well, for me, it was just easiest to delineate pink and blue with my wife's events and my events, but you can really change the color to whatever you want. In fact, I think, for example, the Sierra Vista Community Calendar, I think that started out as yellow or gray or something. So over here, off to the side, you'll notice some different options here. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to change the Sierra Vista Community Calendar to orange, and I could change that to orange, and I click that on, and now all of the Sierra Vista events are orange. Those are not our school colors. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click back and turn that back to green, because we're green and white. And so now all of our Sierra Vista colors, our Sierra Vista calendar colors, line up with the colors that I want. John, how am I doing so far? What am I missing?
You're doing great. I was just chatting on the back channel with somebody that I love the color coding. You know, being able to easily see what events are on what calendar. So,
well, and
great.
Thank you. Another thing that I wanted to mention is on the Sierra Vista calendar, for example, I see Norman just chimed in on the back channel. Hello, Norman. He was asking how do you determine the color coding? This color coding right here, I think this is the default color coding. However, if you wanted to go and change the colors in a published calendar, in an embedded calendar that you put on a website, those are some more advanced features. If we have time, we'll talk about those towards the end of the evening. But Norman, I definitely, you asked who maintains the calendar. I think that's Kathleen Coleman. I'm not positive. But what I can tell you, it may be one of our administrators, but what I can tell you is the way that you control these colors on a community website, something that you would publish publicly on a teacher website or on a school website, it's a little bit different setting. So it's not controlled with these same colors right here. But I'll show that later. I'll write that down in my notes. Community calendar colors, and that'll come up a little bit later on in the evening. Okay, there's another way to add an event, and that's called Quick Add. Quick Add is over here, and with Quick Add, I can go ahead and click this down arrow right next to Create. Create, you could do the same thing as well. Create, though, is going to open all of your options here. Let's say we don't want all of those options. Let's say that we simply want to do a Quick Add. So with Quick Add, I can just say candle light dinner with Heather. That's my wife. Let's go 7:30 p.m. to, you know what? We're going to have a nice extended dinner, sweetheart. 7:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday. And now if I hit enter or if I click the add button, now we go over here and it is added. Let me just double click and check, and notice it's 7:30 to 10 p.m. So that was a really quick add and a nice way to do it. One more thing, I know this is an advanced feature, but it's a really cool feature, and so I'm going to demonstrate it. This is, and I don't know, John, if you know, John and I were teasing each other. John's an Android phone user. Mm-hmm. I am an iPhone user. And Google Calendar plays really well with both Android and iPhone. I love Siri. And this is one of the things that you can do with Siri. It's kind of an advanced feature, but I want to show it to you now just to show you kind of how cool it is. John, I have your email address already in my contacts. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to use Siri. I know you can't see this. Oh, wait. You could probably. There's a way to fix this. I can just go back and switch myself here. And there we go. Okay, so here I am. So here I am. Here's my phone. I'm going to use Siri, and I'm going to make an appointment. John, we're going to watch Star Wars on Saturday morning. Watch Star Wars with John Carino on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. All right.
Okay, I found this on the web for Watch Star Wars with John Carino on Saturday morning.
Okay, so that was an example of how sometimes technology cannot work effectively. We're going to try this one more time. We'll just make it simpler. Appointment with John Carino, Saturday morning at 8 a.m.
I didn't find any appointments with John Carino for Saturday in the morning. Shall I create it?
Yes.
Okay, I can create your meeting. Note that you already have 2 appointments that overlap with this. Shall I schedule it anyway?
Yes, please.
I scheduled your event with John Carino for 8 a.m. Saturday.
Okay, so here's the magic that's going to happen, and it may not happen for another minute or 2. However, if I go, this is for this Saturday, and so if we take a look, we're gonna keep watching Saturday the 13th here. It's gonna pop up. Sometimes it takes, like I said, a minute or 2, but that event is gonna pop up. But here's the better thing: if we did it correctly, if Siri did what she's supposed to do, and if I've correctly connected Google Calendar to my iPhone, which I have, then it's also going to send an invitation to John, and it's going to appear in John's calendar as an invitation. So John, I want you to give me a holler.
Already
there.
Is
it already there?
Yep.
Okay, so maybe I just need to refresh my calendar, and let's go to oh, there it is right there. Awesome. So there's the appointment, and there's John. Now I don't know. I'm still waiting for John to say yes.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Let's say yes. Why not? Let's do it.
All right. So we're gonna click out, and we're gonna go back in and edit the event, and now John has accepted. So you can set up an appointment with someone, and of course I can edit this to say watch Star Wars.
Do you want to show them what you're typing? Because we're on you right now.
Oh, thank you. That would be a good idea. Thank you very much, John. Let's show this right here. And there we go. So I've changed this. This did say appointment right here. And I changed this so that it would say watch Star Wars. and I click Save. And so now, would I like to send updates to existing guests? Of course I would. So I click Send, and now John Carino will know exactly what's going on, exactly what we're doing. We're watching Star Wars, and my wife says that I'm showing my face and not the calendar. Am I showing the calendar now, John?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. And Heather, thank you. My wife is she's also watching to make sure that I don't make a fool of myself, and that I'm trying to be as helpful as possible. All right. So we talked about creating events. We talked about adding guests and messaging guests. Another thing, here's another quick adding guest thing that I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to click here. I'm going to edit this event, and I want to add guests. So let's say that you're creating an IEP meeting or an SST meeting at school, or just any kind of meeting. You can add guests right here. Since this is a candlelight dinner with my wife, it would probably be helpful to add my wife, Heather Ippolito. Let me actually go and pull her up by her email address right here. And you'll see that it says hippolito@gmail.com. I would like to email her to let her know, would love to have dinner with you, and I'll click Send. And so she's going to get an email invitation of that as well. And because I am in the heartdistrict.org organization, the Google Calendar is saying, are you sure that you want to invite this person? Because they don't work for your school district. I absolutely do. She's my wife. And yes, and I will send that invitation. And now there's another way that you can invite people to an event, to a social event, or to a meeting. More specifically, if you're doing a school meeting, you can do it that way. John, coming up soon in our agenda is, and I'm gonna show the creating new calendars feature. But
Yes.
Would you mind, while we're thinking of it, could you send me an email so that we can do that Gmail demo that we were talking about?
All right, sending right now. I had it ready to
All
go
right,
as a draft.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, then very quickly, I'm going to go ahead and just show how to add. So we talked about these layers here, and I want to show you really quickly how to add an additional layer. So there's this drop-down menu right here, and simply create new calendar. And let's say that I was the yearbook advisor. I used to be a yearbook advisor back at Rio Norte Junior High School. So let's say I want to put yearbook on here, and I can create that calendar. Now, if I want to, you'll see I have options down here. I have options while I'm creating this. I have options to share with specific people. So let's say if I were the yearbook advisor and I wanted to share that with my editor, then I could go ahead and start typing in names. Let's say that John Carino is one of my editors, and let's say that he's my editor-in-chief, and I want to give him a lot of power. We have some options here. Make changes and manage sharing means that that person you're inviting to share this calendar can not only make changes to the events, add events, delete events, but can also manage sharing, can invite other people to join in the calendar as well. You can also give the next level down, which is simply make changes to events. By default, Google Calendar only gives view-only access to those people. So, but this would just be for them to see it. And then the next level down would be to see only free and busy and to hide all other details. So let's say, for example, there's a way that you can do this, and I haven't explored this much, but let's say that you were in an elementary school and you were doing parent conferences, and you want to show availability to someone, but you don't want to show them all the details of your life. Then you could have a when I'm free or when I'm busy type of calendar. John is my editor-in-chief, and so I'm going to give him full access right here, make changes and manage sharing, and I'm going to click Add Person. And he will go into either Gmail or Google Calendar. He'll see that invitation in both places, and it's going to let him know that he's been invited. I could add somebody else, other editors if I wanted to, or other staff members. Super easy to do. Anywhere here in the Heart District, you can also add outside members as well. My wife, if I wanted to show her if I wanted her to have access to this calendar as well, let's say that I just want, you'll notice, because my wife is not within the domain, she doesn't have a heartdistrict.org email address, she can't manage sharing. But she can make changes to the events, so I'll go ahead and I can give her that level of access, and I've added her as well. So those are, and then there are some other options also. You can include location or description of the calendar. We don't need to get that detailed, and I can go ahead and click Create, and then that would create that calendar. And are you sure you want to give access to someone outside of Heart District? Sure, she's my wife, I trust her. And then now you see the brand new yearbook calendar that's added there in My Calendar. So that's how you create a new calendar and add an additional layer to the calendars that are already existing. So, all right, so I think, John, I think we've talked about the basics. Are there any other basics that we need to cover? We're at 7:24 right now, so we're making good time. Oh, John, you sent me an email.
I did.
I should probably check my email.
And,
I'm going to go into Gmail.
While you're pulling that up, somebody on the back channel made a comment about not knowing the feature of adding guests. And my quick tip to that was always make sure that you send the invite and updates so that they get an email about the event creation and any changes you make to it. So otherwise it'll show up on their calendar, but they may not think to check it.
And that's a really good thing to mention. We had a parent meeting about a student that was just a couple of days ago, and the counselor mistakenly, the meeting was created on Monday, the meeting was scheduled for Tuesday. The counselor mistakenly created the meeting on Monday on the same day. It was an accident. She meant to schedule it for Tuesday, so she sent it out originally. We got an email with the original invitation for Monday, and then she sent the update that says, whoops, sorry about that. It was a corrected invitation for Tuesday. And so you make a very good point. You have to send the email, otherwise they're not going to know.
Right.
All right. So here's the email from John Carino. I go ahead and click on that. This is what I love about having both Gmail and Google Calendar. Gmail is very smart. Gmail is reading your email and it's detecting it wants to talk to Google Calendar and say, you know what? I think he wants to schedule something here. So you'll notice right here, you see this line, this dotted line right here underneath the date and time. So John has sent me an email. This has nothing to do with Google Calendar. He sent it to me in Google Mail. I click on this event, and notice I'm just hovering over it right now. It says Add to Calendar. I click, and here's the beautiful thing. I see right now at Sierra Vista there's a meeting at 6:30 p.m. It shows me over here what else is going on Monday, September 15th. Is there a conflict? It shows me right here in Gmail what other things are happening on Monday. This is awesome. I love it. Just in case Gmail misunderstood the information, it gives me the option to change the date. It gives me the option to change the time. But you know what, Gmail? You did a great job. You read John's email perfectly. I can go and click Add to Calendar. And so on Monday, September 15th, it is now in the calendar. I can go back to my Google Calendar right here. And on Monday, September 15th, it just needs a moment to refresh. I'll refresh its memory there. And there is my PD meeting with John. So I was able to create an event using Gmail. I didn't need to type anything at all. I basically just needed to convert the text. Gmail did it automatically. So thank you, Gmail. That's another amazing feature, and that's awesome. John, have we covered all of the basics?
I think so. I think we're down to. I think you already covered changing calendar colors.
I did, but I didn't yet get to notifications and reminders.
Right.
And so I do want to talk about that. So another thing that's really cool about Google Calendar is you can set how much you want Google Calendar. Google Calendar is like my little personal assistant. Google Calendar taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, did you know you have a meeting coming up? Did you remember about your meeting? Don't forget about your meeting. And you can have Google Calendar be as much of a nudge or not as you want, depending on your personal preference. So there are a couple of different settings, and I need to stress the importance of this. There are two different ways to adjust notifications. First are the global settings. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to go to this gear icon, and I'm going to go to Settings. The global settings affect all of your notifications. So if we go into the notifications, and maybe I might be looking in the wrong location. But while we're here, I'll just point out a couple
under calendars and then notifications for each calendar.
Oh, okay. So there aren't global settings.
I think there's global settings for. I think there might be a default notification for when you create a new event.
And you know what, John? Here's what I'm thinking of, and I apologize to our viewers for getting this mixed up in my mind. There are global notification settings on my iPhone
Oh, okay.
when I create, and that applies to all of the calendar events that I create with my iPhone. So, but in Google Calendar on the web version, there are specific calendar-specific reminders and notifications. So since we're talking about that, I don't want to deviate and go off topic. Let me go ahead and show. Let's go back so that people can see where we went here. The gear icon is always settings, and the gear icon is global to Google Calendar and Google Drive and Google Mail. So I'm going to click on Settings and go to Settings right here, and then I'll click on Calendars. This is my default calendar. This is where I put all of my events. So I'm going to click on Reminders and Notifications. By default, remind me via pop-up 10 minutes before each event. Let's say that I also wanted to add an additional reminder where I wanted to email me 1 day before each event. And I'm going to add another reminder that will text message me. SMS is text message. And I want to get that text message 3 hours before each event that I create in this calendar. This is a lot of reminders, but if you want to be reminded for every event that you create with this calendar, then theoretically you could set up all of those events, all of those notifications. Pop-up is by default, that's the only one. I'm going to remove these other two. Pop-up, so pop-up means that it's going to pop up on your phone. If you have your phone connected to Google Calendar, it's going to pop up then, and then it's also going to pop up if you have Google Calendar open on your browser. It's going to pop up on your browser as well. If Google Calendar is not open on your computer, in your classroom, or in your office, then these pop-up reminders, and you don't have it connected to your phone, then pop-up reminders, there's no place for it to pop up. So, am I right, John?
Correct. You got it.
Okay. So the pop-up only works if Google Calendar is open on your desktop. It doesn't need to be the window that is currently active, but it just needs to be open as one of the tabs that you have on. You could be working on something else, but it has to be there, and it has to be open somewhere on your computer, or you have it connected to your phone and then it pops up on your phone. SMS, in order for SMS to work, you need to have your phone number plugged in there. So you need to put that in, and it will send a verification, and then email, it will email you that reminder. Really quickly, I'm just going to show, since we're talking about mobile phone, I'm going to go to the mobile setup. This is where you would put your phone number in there to get mobile notifications, and like I said, it will send a verification code to your phone to make sure to connect to your phone, and then that's how you set those up. If you don't have a phone number in there, then it's not going to send it as a text message to your phone, a text message reminder. So just a quick note on that. So those are the reminders and notifications for each calendar. You can then drill down even more. Let's say that my candlelight dinner with my wife is a really, 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 really important event that I want to make sure to remember. You can then go in, and if I go down here to reminders, I can specifically add pop-up at 30 minutes, and I can say pop-up at 60 minutes, and I can pop up 2 days before, and so I can add a bunch of reminders. So if you're the type of person, I always remember my anniversary. Sweetheart, I know you know that. My wife is still watching. If you're the type of person who forgets your anniversary, then you can, on an event-by-event basis, you can add additional reminders to make sure that you are reminded. We can email 2 days before. We can email 30 minutes before. We can. You'll notice here on the event-specific reminders, you can't do SMS. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know the explanation, but emails and pop-ups. Again, if you have it connected to Google Calendar if you have Google Calendar connected to your phone, then you'll be able to make sure to get those pop-ups on your phone as well. John, we've talked about creating events, we've talked about changing colors, notifications, and reminders. The one more basic feature we want to talk about, and we're kind of halfway through, so I'll talk about this quickly, is printing. I'm going to discard these changes. Actually, no, I'll save it with these changes, so I make sure to know about my candlelight dinner with my wife this Saturday.
Printing. Why would I ever want to print my Google Calendar? I can get it anywhere.
Well, I realize that, John, and and you and I both live in a very digital world, and we love our digital lives. However, there may be, let's say, for example, you're a math teacher, and you would like to print a hard copy, a paper copy of the math homework calendar for your students. Again, we have to think of equity in our district, and not every kid has access, not every kid has a smartphone, not every kid has internet access at home. And so it may be helpful to hand out those paper calendars. Let's say that maybe for your family you want to print out a paper calendar to put on the refrigerator at home. So there are times when you might want to print out a calendar to actually put it on paper. So we go to More, right up here, and we go to Print. And now this gives us all sorts of options. Now you notice I've got all the calendars up there at the top. If I want, I can change this, and I can turn off these other calendars. Or let's say that I only want the Sierra Vista Community Calendar. Then I can go to Print, and now we only have a month at a glance Sierra Vista Community Calendar. Let's say that I wanted to show, here's a little trick, and this is, Google Calendar veterans may not even know this trick. I'm going to show this off. So let's say that you only, if you're like me and you get stuff kind of packed in here, and you have a lot of calendars open, and you start, oh man, it just starts getting packed after a while. I'm like, you know what? I can't even read all this stuff. So you can go ahead and drag this right over here, and just do 2 weeks at a time. All right, so now we're a little bit better. Or we can do 3 weeks at a time. Or you can do 4 weeks at a time. You have these as well. You have these options. You can do the day only. You can do week over here. I've never liked this view. Month is fine, but that kind of gets a little busy. 4 weeks. You can also do agenda view. So you can see it in kind of an agenda format, and you can turn these on and off as well. All right. So anyway, John, back to our original. I kind of got off on a little side, like a tangent there.
No, that stuff actually is really great, because I agree. Sometimes I look at my calendar and it's hard to read it. So those are some.
I love Google Calendar so much. I want to show off all the features. All right. So let's say I want to go to More here, and I want to print. And we see just the Sierra Vista Community Calendar. We can go ahead. We can also set some additional options here. So I can have it set, if I just want to do September, then we just see September. There's the last day of August right there. We got the first Saturday in October. So basically it's a September calendar. I can just print this month. I can print a 3-month calendar. Math teachers, I know math teachers are always really good. They are so good about planning in advance. So maybe as a math teacher, you want to print 6 months in advance. Well, you can go ahead and hit 6. So it says we're going to print a total of 6 pages. We're going to make copies of this, so we'll do black and white. And then we hit print. And then it's going to go ahead and send the print dialog, so it prints to your printer. You could also, let's say that you're that teacher that wants to save it as a PDF. You can go ahead and click Save As, and it automatically exports it as a PDF, and that is awesome as well. So there are a couple of different options that you have there. And if you wanted to, let's say you want to send it to the district copy center, because we always want to send as many copies as we possibly can to the district copy center, not using our copy machines at our local school sites. Again, by getting it in PDF format, that makes it much easier to send it to the DCC. All right, John. Whew, 7:37. We're plugging along here.
Good point for the copy center there.
Oh well, my dad, and sometimes people get confused because he is Ronald Ippolito and I'm Ron Ippolito. Sometimes people confuse the two of us, and so he's the liaison to the district copy center. No, I do not moonlight. I'm not teaching during the day, and then also sending out district copy center reminders in the evening. There are two separate people, me and my dad. So I wanted to give a shout out to my dad as well. Okay. Advanced Google Calendar features. The first thing we mentioned was sharing your Google Calendar with family, friends, and colleagues. I think this is probably a pretty good time to also talk about your default privacy settings. I'm going to go back and turn my calendar back on. I'm going to click on this down arrow here and go to Share this calendar. So here are my sharing settings. And this is, if you are an employee of the Hart District, you need to perk your ears up and listen very carefully to this. By default, this was something that came from Google. Please do not blame the good people at the Hart District IT department. By default, this was clicked on. let's click here. By default, this was turned on when we got Google Apps for Education, Google Calendar, Google Mail for all of our students and staff. By default, it says share this calendar with everyone in the organization. So by default, this was turned on, and if you have not turned this off, then you are currently sharing all of your events with everyone, every student and staff member in the William S. Hart Union High School District. You probably don't want to do this. John, what was that you were explaining the background to me on this? Can you just explain it a little bit more so people understand?
Basically, when we did the migration from GroupWise to Gmail, that was a setting that was set by default for our new domain, our new GAFE domain. Google Apps for Education domain. And we didn't realize it until we were, most of the way through the migration, and so we talked to Google about it, tried to see if there was a way to mass uncheck that box, and unfortunately there's not. So our choices were either to start over from scratch or to let everybody know that that setting was checked and to uncheck it. So that's kind of where we're at, and definitely anybody that can spread that, the more the better, so that not anybody can look at your calendar. Now, luckily, the default setting is only see all events, so they can't change anything on your calendar, but I know some people do have some confidential appointments or things in their calendars that they may not want anybody, just anybody to be able to see.
Absolutely, and certainly if we have, if you add any kind of, doctor's appointments or whatever, you probably don't want to be sharing that with every student and staff member in the Hart District. You made that announcement. I remember seeing an email. I think sometime in late May or early June, and then I also know that during our PD time, right before school started, I know that Kathleen Coleman, our technology coordinator, tech teacher here at Sierra Vista, I know that she had mentioned it, but we still have some folks that haven't quite realized this. So like John said, if you can spread the word, make sure that this is turned off, because otherwise you are sharing your information with everybody in the district. All right, so we kind of already went over this a little bit. I think I talked about this previously, but again, let me just kind of show you the steps here. Here's my calendar right here. So if I want to click, and I think we did this demo with that yearbook calendar that we set up, but again, you're going to go to share this calendar, and you can share your calendar with as many people as you want to. Now, having said that, I think if we want to share it on a more global scale, we're kind of starting to get into some advanced features now. Let's say that you want to share it with a more global audience. If you click on iCal, for example, then I can share this calendar. Now, I certainly wouldn't want to share my personal calendar, but I may want to share, I think a custodian's trying to get into my classroom right now. You certainly wouldn't want to share your, hello Frank, you certainly wouldn't want to share your personal calendar, but if you want to share like a school calendar or an ASB calendar, an events calendar, then this is one of the ways that you could do that, is by sharing this with, let's say, every student in your ASB group or in your yearbook group. This is one way that you could share. Another way that you could share, of course, is by adding it. We go back to share this calendar. You could add every user, every student. You could add those in one at a time. John Smith. Oh, there is a John Smith. Hey, what do you know? You could add each of those one at a time, all of those students, or you can simply take that iCal. And John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think once you have that, then if you add it by URL, then you paste that iCal. Am I correct here, John? I think that's the way you do it, right?
I believe so. I think the only time I've used the iCal is adding like a public calendar to like an iPhone.
Okay.
We had one for our Boy Scout troop that I make public, and one of our parents wanted it on their iPhone. So if you take that iCal and add that, then it added it to her phone.
All right. Well, my wife is telling me that I keep cutting in and out with the audio, so I'm going to, I'll step a little bit closer to the microphone here to make sure that I try to improve the audio quality here. All right, so here is, I think we were in sharing settings, and there was one more thing that I wanted to show you with regard to sharing, and I'm going to go to calendar settings. Now, if we want to create a public calendar, you see right here, so we've got calendar details, share this calendar, we've got the different options here. I got to that. Let me just show one more time. Click here, we go to calendar settings, and you see embed this calendar. So if you would like to embed your calendar, just like we saw on the Valencia High School website, on the Sierra Vista website, this is the embed code right here. So you would copy this, you do a Command-C, or copy, or Control-C on a PC or on a Chromebook. You copy that, and then you paste that into your blog or in your website. Now, this is, like I said, a slightly more advanced feature. So if you have a technology expert on your campus, then that may be a question that you want to ask them. Hey, how do I know that I can do it. I know that I can embed a Google Calendar on my classroom website. How can I do it? Then they can kind of show you the specifics. If you want to customize, you click on this link here, and now we're starting to get, now we're talking about some bells and whistles here, because now you can add multiple calendars. If I wanted to share, I would never do this publicly, but if I wanted to share my personal calendar and my wife's personal calendar and publish that, then I could. Let's say I don't want to publish those, but let's say I want to publish the Sierra Vista Community Calendar. But then let's say that my ASB director has a separate ASB calendar. I could add that separate layer onto it. And so now you're starting to get a little fancier. Now this is kind of cool here. Now I like this. This is good. What I did was I went ahead from my website so that I could share it with my students. I shared the Sierra Vista Community Calendar, but instead of embedding it like this, I embedded it as an agenda view. And so I embed this information so it looks like this. And then if we go to my teacher website, mrippolito.com, and we scroll down just a little bit, and now we see here's the school events calendar, and I have embedded it off to the side in kind of an agenda format here. So there are different ways to embed calendars into your blog, your website. You use Google Sites. I use Blogger. If you're using Weebly, or there are so many different tools that teachers use to create school websites, teacher websites. So you find the tool that works for you, and chances are Google Calendar has a way that you can embed a calendar in there. Is there something I'm missing on that, John?
Nope, that's great.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and, so that's just, again, kind of one of those advanced bells and whistles kind of things that you can do. We talked about the privacy settings within the Heart District, setting permission levels for each calendar. We did already talk about that earlier. Granting specific calendar access to staff members and students. We discussed recurring and duplicate events, and even embedding your Google Calendar in a school or classroom website. John, we're doing really well on this agenda here, and I'm a talker. So the last bullet point that I have on my agenda here is connecting Google Calendar to your mobile device and syncing across devices.
Oh, did we skip the recurring events and duplicating events?
Oh, you know what? Yes, we did.
Okay. Well, and that's one I only bring up because it's something that we tended to get more questions from office staff than really teachers. And the scenario would be like a meeting that happened. They're planning meetings for an entire year, and in GroupWise they have the ability to click recurring date. I think that's what it was called.
Yes.
And they would actually get a year view, and they could click on every single date that the meeting was and click OK, and it would put it there. And unfortunately, there's not that feature in Google Calendar. So the easiest way that I've come to get close is once I create the first event is to go into that event, edit it, and then click duplicate event. Just pick the new date. Usually the time is the same and location is the same, and then click save. And then just do that for each of the events. I don't know if you can show them that really quick on your screen.
I can. So let's say, for example, we have, let's say this meeting, and let me, can you see, you can see my screen again? Yes.
Yes.
All right, so let's say this meeting with Mrs. Fisher. We have some of those parents that constantly come and meet with the principal. I'm sure every principal, any principals that are out there, you can relate to the parent that always comes and meets with you. So let's say that you want to duplicate this and you want to add it. So you can. Oh, and now I think I'm not finding the duplicate.
Oh, it's under more actions at the top.
Oh, more actions. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So we can duplicate the event. You want to keep all the other details the same, the location, everything else. You just want to duplicate it, but now we want to change. We want to. Let's say I want to set it for October 1st. And I can duplicate it and I can save that, and so now it appears there's the meeting with Mrs. Fisher on September 17th, and then it appears again on October 1st. So that's a great way if you have, like you're saying, you have an event and you want to duplicate it for for another. All the other information you want to keep the same, except you just want to switch it to a different date. Here's the feature that I use a lot, and I apologize for skipping over it initially, and that was the recurring event. So let's say that you have a meeting. Let's say we have a team meeting. I'm going to click here on Tuesday, September 16th, and I'm going to say Team Titans team meeting. Go Titans, that's my team at Sierra Vista Junior High School. And now I'm going to click Edit Event. And this is going to be a recurring event. It's repeat right here. I click here. And actually, before I do that, I do want to say I want to turn off all day. I don't want it to be, it's not an all-day meeting. Let's say we're going to meet at 10:15 every day, and it'll go until 11:15. Let's say we go until, yeah, we'll just go until 10:45, and we want it to repeat. Do we want it to repeat weekly? Let's say we're going to have a monthly meeting. And do we want it to repeat on every 16th? Well, the 16th isn't always going to be a school day, so instead I want it to recur on that specific day of the week. So monthly on the third Tuesday of every month, and it's going to end. We're not going to have any more meetings once school gets out, so this is going to end on June 1st. Or whenever, that's close enough to the end of school. We probably actually get out on June 5th. And so I click Done. And now I click Save. This is awesome. And so now the Team Titans team meeting, I'm going to click, because I'm so excited about this. I want to change the color. I want it to stand out. I'm going to click red and click Save. And this is awesome. Edit the recurring event. Do you want to make the change to just this one or all of them? I want to make this change to all of them. And so now you see a little red dot there that shows you that this is that recurring event on the third Tuesday of every month. I go to October, there's the third Tuesday, and November, there's the third Tuesday, and December. Now, oh my goodness, now December is going to be tough because, it's close to the end of the semester. We're almost done. That's not going to work, no. Instead, I would like to take this event. Oh, this is awesome. I love showing this. We're going to grab the event, and we're going to drag it up to the 9th. Let it go. And there we go. And so even though we set that rule, and Google Calendar wants to put it on the third Tuesday every month, well, if there's one month where it doesn't work that way, we want to change it just a little bit, we can move it to a different time of the month, and it's just fine. And we go now to January, and that's fine, and February, and February, it's right after a holiday. Ugh, let's not do it on a holiday. Let's move it up. There we go, to the 10th. Again, no problem moving it. And so, anyway, so that's how you create a recurring event, but you can still, at the same time, you can make changes that are global, that affect everything, or you can make specific changes. Let's say, you know what, December meeting, let's cancel it, because December is such a crazy month. We'll click delete. Again, it's going to give us the warning. Oh, I know why it didn't give us the warning, because I've already moved it out of sync. Let's go to March. Let's click delete. There we go. This one followed the rule, so this is why it's giving us the warning. Do I want to delete just this one? Do I want to delete this one and all of the events that scheduled after, or do I want to delete all of them, just this one, and then pop, it deletes that one? But the April one is still there, and all the other ones are still there. John, how do we do on recurring and duplicating events?
That was really good. I was going to bring up the deleting, but you caught that. So I think another cool Google feature that crosses Gmail and Calendar at the top there where it says Event Deleted. Google's nice. They give you an undo feature if you accidentally deleted that one and said, oops, that's not the one I meant to delete. Instead of having to recreate it, you can just click undo, and it undoes the last action that you did. So I've used that a couple times.
I have as well. Google recognizes that we're only human. Sometimes we delete something that we're not meant to. All right, we got 7 minutes left until we reach the hour of 8 o'clock. So I think this is just enough time to talk quickly about connecting Google Calendar to your mobile device. And I do want to remind those people who are out watching, if you have a question, you want to throw it on the back channel. We're probably going to have at least a couple minutes left, and even if we don't have time, we're happy to mention it and answer it in the show notes. So we want to make sure to answer your questions just so you fully understand how much I love Google Calendar, John loves it, and we just want to share the Google Calendar love. All right. So I opened a folder here in Google Calendar, in Google Drive. I uploaded some images. So here's what I did was I love my iPhone. I'm excited about the release of the iPhone 6. Here is a screenshot that I took a little bit earlier this evening. If you want to add Google Calendar to your phone, and I highly recommend that you add, if you're using Google Calendar on your computer, if you're using it in your work life, why would you not add it to your mobile device? It just seems silly. I still have some friends who are using, for example, on their phone, they're using their iCloud calendar on their phone, but they're using their Google Calendar on their computer, and they're not talking to each other. So Google and Apple, they don't always play nice, but in this particular context, they play very well together. So on your phone, on your iPhone, and the setup's a little bit different on an Android, but Android, it's also because Android is a Google platform. I think it's a little bit easier. I think, John, you would concur that Google Calendar is a little more seamless on the Android?
Yeah, definitely. You just add the account under settings, or settings accounts. You add any Google account, and then you have the options to sync, any of the Google apps. So Mail, Calendar, Contacts, Play, any of the Play Store stuff, and it all shows up on the native client calendar app on the phone. So pretty simple.
All right. So if you are if you're on your home screen, you're going to go ahead and click on Settings. When you click on Settings, it's going to take you here. You want to scroll down until you get to Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. So once you click on that, and again, screenshots was the best way to do this. I can't show, at least I don't know of a way to show a live iPhone feed, in a Google Hangout. So this is as close as we can get. So Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. Next screenshot here under Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. I have lots of different settings in here, but this is my Heart District Gmail. This is where I added my Rippolito at heartdistrict.org. So you go ahead and click on that, or wherever. If you haven't yet added it, I should say add account. When you add account, it's going to show you, I'm sorry I don't have a screenshot of this, but if you add account, you're going to have the option, one of the options that it's going to give you is it's going to give you a Google option. And if I can, I'm going to very quickly, let's see how fast we can do this here in Google Drive. I'm going to try to upload this screenshot for you as fast as I possibly can, because I'm doing this on my phone right now. We're uploading. Hopefully I'll be able to show that to you pretty soon.
Well, and while you're doing that, I just want to mention the website that my team put together, google.heartdistrict.org, and there's a ton of great information, video, and tutorials on there. And one of them, let's see where it is. It's I think it's on the homepage there, but shoot, now I can't even find it. There is a video on there of how to add Google accounts to your mobile devices. So. If you need additional help, there it is. On the left says Basics, Mobile Setup. You just click on that, and you'll see the mobile setup for the particular device you have, whether it's Android, iPhone, BlackBerry, or even a Windows phone.
And John, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I know that site has a lot of cool features, and I didn't even realize that was one of them. I did. This was fast. Thank you, technology. Here's the screenshot. So when you go, let me step back here. And you're in Mail, Contacts, and Calendars, and you click on Add Account. When you click on Add Account, one of the options you have is Google. All you need to do, it's super simple, is you just put in your email address, and then you put in what you would like for it to be called. In this particular case, I went ahead and called it Rippolito Heart District. That's to distinguish. I have a Rippolito Gmail. This is my Rippolito Heart District, so it's super easy to add that. And then, let me make sure I'm going in the right order here. So once you have added that account, it gives you options. So what do you want to sync up with your Heart District Gmail account? I don't want to sync up contacts. I'm not going to do that. I manage my iPhone contacts separately. I'm not going to sync up my notes. I have that turned off. I'm also using the Gmail app on my iPhone. I don't use the iPhone Mail app for my work email. I use it for my personal mail. The only feature out of all of these that I'm syncing up with my Heart District account is the calendar, and so I turn that feature on. And then there's one more thing that I wanted to show. So this is the iPhone calendar app. Now I haven't explored all of the features of the new operating system, iOS 8. Maybe they've improved the calendar, but those of you who are iPhone users, before iOS 7, I used to love the iPhone calendar. When iOS 7 came out, I no longer liked this calendar format. I don't care for. I don't like it, and so I went ahead and switched. I downloaded. I don't own any stock in the company, but let me go to the. I downloaded an app called Fantastical, and Fantastical works fantastically with your calendar on your phone. There's nothing more. I already had the settings set up, so there's nothing more that I needed to add. This is what the interface looks like on Fantastical. I love Fantastical. This is not, I don't have time to go into all those features, and I'm seeing it's now 8 o'clock. But just know that there are other options for your iPhone if you don't like the native iPhone calendar app. And who knows, maybe in a couple weeks, Apple, when they do the new software release, maybe the calendar app will be awesome again, like it used to be. It's not really awesome now, so that's why I like Fantastical. The final thing that I want to mention, and I know we're at 8 o'clock. I want to talk about sync settings, and I think this information, John, is probably on google.heartdistrict.org.
I believe it is.
This is Teresa Morgan. I need to give her a shout out over in your department, John, because for the life of me, I could not figure out why was it. I was feeling pretty left out. Why was it that I could see the Sierra Vista calendars on my computer, but I could not see them on my phone? What was the problem? Well, the problem was I needed to go to this website right here, google.com/calendar/sync-select. I had all these. They were fine. Calendars that you create automatically sync. You see that yearbook one that I created just like an hour ago? That's already there. But other calendars, you need to go in and you need to manually add them so that they can be viewed on a mobile device. Otherwise, they will forever remain invisible. You'll be able to see them on your computer, but you won't be able to see them on your iPhone. I don't know about Android, but it was totally. I could not figure this out at all. And Teresa Morgan was so helpful, and she really saved me, and I really appreciated it. So again, a shout out to Teresa Morgan. Thank you. All right, John. Hey,
yeah, on the just a comment on that. On the Android phones or Android devices, when you're in your calendar and you go to settings, there is an option for sync. Same type of thing, sync settings. You can choose which calendars to sync, and then there's additionally a different settings page for which calendars to display. So, like, I recently shared my work calendar with my wife, and I said you probably don't want to look at that all day long, so she can just turn the display on and off as she wants to see what's going on at work or not.
Well, John, let me go ahead and let me switch back here. John, this has been fun. It's I can't believe an hour has already flown by.
I'm sorry when you're having fun.
I know. All right, well, hey, it's 8:02, so we've actually gone a couple minutes over.
Right.
If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me, rippolito@heartdistrict.org. You can include it if you want. You can still go to the back channel this evening if you want to add any more questions. Probably email at this point. Once we shut this webinar down, probably email is the best way. And then if you have a question, chances are other people have that same question, and so if you email us, we can always add that to the show notes. And if it's a really good suggestion, really good idea, and it's not yet included in google.heartdistrict.org, then maybe we'll add that link there as well. I don't have control over that. You do, John, but.
That's another Teresa Morgan and Susanna Moss special. So you can, I think we can get stuff added there.
Awesome. Well, hey, I just want to say a big thank you to John Carino. Thank you so much, John, for this was fun. It was the Ron and John show this evening, and thank you to our audience. And hopefully we answered your questions, and hopefully this was a worthwhile hour. And please spread the word, because if people weren't able to see the webinar live this evening, they can always catch it at that very same link on YouTube, and it'll be online for as long as YouTube is around. So, John, thank you once again.
Oh, thank you, Ron.
All right, so folks, That's it. Have a good evening. And we once again thank you for joining us, and hope you enjoy all the great features of Google Calendar. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.